Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to do a very cute like bicycle basket with flowers. Very spring, very easy. Try to have like a card on hand, either a business card or you can use a palette knife, but I know not everybody has a palette knife, so I'm just going to use a card because most people have something like that around the house. You could just use a gift card or a business card, anything like that. And then we're going to use a large flat brush, a medium flat or square brush, and then a small-ish round brush. So that's what we're going to be using. Now for the background, we're going to do a faux wood. And I love doing this like blue-gray wood. So what I'm going to do is use mostly white. I'm using that big brush, mostly white. And I actually want to mix a little bit of water into it. So dip the brush in the water and mix it in. And then we'll do a touch of blue and a touch of black. So we're going to create a blue-gray. Love this color. And then we're going to go vertically and spread it on our canvas. And just spread it around. So notice how I can do a few brush strokes that are kind of spread about. And then you can add maybe a little more white if it got too dark and fill in the gaps, because I do want it to be pretty light. And then you can always make it darker by adding more blue and black. So you can go either way, whatever your taste is. Don't go too dark though. And then I'm going to let it go there. I'm going to put the brush aside and I'm going to take the card. Now with this, I like to use the long side first. So I'm going to go ahead and just chop the card and then find the middle at the top. So just go fingers together, right and left, come to the middle and then tap the card there and do it at the bottom as well. So just tap and then you're going to pull and tap through all the way. And then you're going to go halfway between the center and the side on both sides. So just like that, and then pull it through. I like to do top and bottom and then pull it through just so that I don't like go on a diagonal, which I do sometimes. And you don't need it to be perfectly straight because like wood isn't perfectly straight a lot of times in your little barn door type thing, so it's fine. And then you're gonna just scrape some of the excess paint onto the canvas, and you can always like fold. Sometimes I'll fold it. That way I can get a smaller amount touching. But I'm just spreading it in there. And you can fold it the other way. It's almost like I'm just cleaning off the excess on there. And I like to do it a little heavier at the tops and bottom of this. And if you run out, just dip it back in there and just add a little extra. Just with the texture, it's just like picking up on the tooth of the canvas there. It's a really cool effect. Again, you could do this with a palette knife, but I feel like doing that with the card is totally fine too. So whatever you have laying around is going to be perfectly awesome to use. Now, the next thing you can do is you can go in and touch it up with a square brush. So I could always add a little more white and brush that in. And again, I'm just moving vertically. So maybe some parts got a little dark. Just use a little bit of white, lighten it up, do some little touch-ups. You can spread out some of that black. If it got a little too chunked up in any one spot, and just sort of, play around with messing with it a bit. But don't overdo. Sometimes just leaving it looking a little rough is actually gonna look much better than overworking it a lot of times. And then I like to use that round brush as well. You can make some little wood knots. So this kind of already happened automatically by accident in some spots, but you could take some black on the tip and like say I want a little wood knot, like just maybe over, we'll do it down here. I can turn this into more of a wood knot. You're just going to sort of put some parentheses lines around the shape and then bring it more towards the center and then pull some vertical lines. And then you can make parallel lines that drag around, coming out like wood, like the way wood kind of ages, and you have that ring that comes around. So you can also make a little mark. I can make like a little oval, and then I can make a parentheses around that and then drag it together to come together in the center, and then make a few layers of that, like an onion. Just imagine like an onion. Or if you don't like that look, don't have to do it. I usually do a few just because I'll work with whatever happened with the card. I'll kind of just work with that and add a few little knots in the wood. It gives a little extra something, and I like it. And you can always use that small brush to darken up parts of the lines in between. So maybe I want them to be a little thicker in some spots. Or not. So many things you can do. And then we would want to start our spacing. So we're going to have the flower basket right in the center. And I'm going to use the square medium brush for this part because we're just going to be blocking in some larger shapes. Now the first thing I'm going to do is space, just find the middle. That way we know where everything's going. And I'm going to do the bicycle in like a turquoise. So I'm going to use blue with a touch of yellow. But I want mostly blue so that it's more of a deep turquoise color. And then again, I'm going to find the middle, make a little mark there so you know where the dead center of the canvas is. And then what we're going to do is we're going to traverse the bicycle in this space. So what I'm going to do is come down about a third of the way and over about a quarter of the way. So what's another helpful thing about painting on this wood pattern is that you've already divided the canvas into 4 sections. So this is the middle, and then these are the quarters. So each little wood thing is a quarter of the canvas going horizontally. So what I want to do is start at the first quarter over here, come down about a third of the way, and make another dot. And then at the bottom, we're going to come over about a quarter of the way and up about a quarter of the way. So we're going to kind of come in this space. And then what you can do is make a diagonal line that pulls down. Maybe it's like kind of a hard diagonal, and then maybe it kind of curves out just a bit to reach that second dot right here. There we go. We're making this line. And then maybe up here we have like a little handlebar. So it's going to just curve out like that. We'll just go like, it'll come together. It's going to be like a little hook shape, like a little J. And then we can make a couple little lines coming really close to the handlebars, to coming down on a diagonal like that. Just a couple. There we go. And then we can make our bike sort of the top of the wheel part of the bike. So I'm going to go like this and just make this quarter shape, like a part circle shape right here, just like that. And then we can also just make the full circle that goes right on the inside of that. And I'm still doing the same color, even though we're going to paint over it. Notice how I'm making this one go all the way off the canvas though. And it's going to go just like that. So it goes all the way off, and then this one doesn't. There we go. So now we have like the foundation for the bicycle. This is the well thing that is going to go out to the seat area, but we're not painting that part of it, so don't worry about that. All right, so now that we have that in, we're going to go ahead and make our brown color. So what's fun about brown is you don't really need to clean your brush if you don't want to. I'm just going to leave this color on there, and then I'm going to begin to add a bunch of red and yellow to it. And notice how it looks a little green. Then I'm going to add a little more red. If it looks too green, you just need more red. I'm just going to give us a nice brown color. And again, I kind of like smush all the paint out. Notice have a lot of that turquoise in the brush still, and then just add more red, and you're gonna get a nice brown color. You really only need to mix your primaries together to get brown, but you could also do red, yellow, and black, or you can do red, yellow, and blue. I oftentimes use the black, but today I'm using the blue just because I already had it on my brush. So I'm just working with what I'm doing in this project. Now we're gonna make the basket, and it's gonna go right in this little triangle area. So what I'm gonna do is make a line, goes like this, and that goes like straight across right here. So we're coming down, and then we're coming over, and we're gonna go up like that. And then we'll make another horizontal line. So just try to make a nice little basket type shape and then color it in with brown. And then if you want to add a little black to the brown, especially towards the bottom of the shape, that would be good. So see how I'm going to go to the bottom of the shape or the edges of the shape and just get that dark color in. And then you can always add a little bit of white into it to make it a little lighter or a little more yellow. Sometimes adding more white and yellow is going to help make a lighter shade of brown. And then we can go in towards the center of that shape and just sort of wipe in a little bit of that so that you should be able to see at least 3 shades of the brown on there. And we can always add more later. But for now, let's just leave it at that. Now the next thing I'm going to do is add some flowers, and I'm going to do pink. I'm going to clean the square brush. I'm using the square brush for all of the base colors here. And I'm going to do some white and red for my pink flowers. And I don't want it to be too, want it to be kind of pastel. So I'm using a lot of white. And then what I can do is go in and I can make these shapes. Like I can just make these little rectangle shapes that come together like that. And then I can do another one right here. Make like a, however you want, really. I'm just making like a rectangle shape. Brush strokes that all come together in a cluster. And I'm going to do 3. Do another one right here. That looks pretty good to me. Maybe I have one more little one kind of coming down right there. It's like small. And now that we have those bigger elements in, I can use the smaller brush. And then I like to work from where I started. So I started with the bike. So what I'm going to do is go back to that. And we're going to go into our blue with yellow again. This time I'm going to add black into that to make a very dark turquoise shadow color. I'm going to go ahead and underline my shapes. So go underneath those little rails. You can do a little bit underneath the little wheel well kind of thing. Notice how I skipped over this section. So just sort of pick up your brush so that this bar looks in front. So we're going to go ahead and take a black line that goes on the left side of this diagonal bar coming through here. Yep, it's pretty easy. And then under the handlebars, we'll do like on the underside of that. Maybe even darken up the tips of those a little bit or something. You can always play. And then we're going to go ahead and add some white so that we get that blue-gray color again. But I want it kind of dark this time, like a darker blue-gray. And this is going to go right on the inside of that teal that goes all the way off the canvas. We're working our way to our darkest colors. So we're just working our way in. Then we're going to go to the center right here and make a little circle that kind of comes around the tip of our diagonal bar. And then you can create some spokes, but I want to do the spokes with the card. So I'm going to use the short end of the card this time, and I'm going to use that gray. the gray blue kind of color. And then what I'm going to do is just come out from the center to the edges and tap like that. So what I love about doing this kind of technique is it really takes the scariness out of making straight lines. And I know a lot of people kind of stress about things like that when it comes to painting, like I can't draw a straight line, or that they just have this notion that painting is like drawing for some reason. And then they'll be like, well, I can't draw, so I don't think I can do this. And I'm like, well, it's really not like drawing, like at all. Drawing is very different from painting. Like I'm not very good at drawing. Like I can draw, but much easier to paint in my opinion, because you don't have to have these like technical skills so much. It's a little bit looser. Notice how we can just add all these little spokes. It looks really cool. Love that. I mean, you can do some with black too if you feel like it's not standing out enough. Do some with the black. You can do a few different shades with this. Like you can do some with that gray color, you can do some with the black, and you can do some with the white as a highlight, and I'll do all of those colors as I go, just to give it as much texture as possible. It's gonna look really cool. And then last but not least, we'll do some with white. And they can just layer right on top of each other. You don't have to make a completely new line every time you tap down. So fun. All right. And then we can create some highlight colors on the bike. So those highlight colors are going to look more like a light turquoise. So clean your brush and then come back into that mostly blue with a little bit of yellow, but we're going to add a bunch of white as well. And you can have like a little extra yellow to give it some fun like green tints. And then we'll put some highlights on the frame with that lighter shade towards the top of things. So you have the shadows usually towards the bottom of things, and then your highlight is usually coming on towards the top of things. Pretty basic, pretty standard. So much fun. And you can even use pure white. So maybe you want to get the highlights really popping. Use some pure white on there. No big deal. So much fun. Let's add some darks. I'm going to use some dark purple first, so clean your brush and use some red and blue mixed together about 50-50. This is going to give me some dark centers to my couple of flowers here, so maybe I just want it like in a couple like that. And then we can also do a little bit of more shading on the basket with that purple. It could look kind of cool. You can even use that on the bike frame. So maybe you want to add some purple to that black as a shadow color. And then I can go into full on adding black to the purple and painting my tires, which are going to be right in between the gray and the turquoise on my wheel section. So I painted it turquoise first just for spacing, but now we're going to paint it in black. These are our bike tires. You can even add some black to the basket. So fun. Cleaning the brush. And then I want to add some greenery around our flowers. So cleaning the brush, and I'm using mostly yellow with a little bit of blue and a little bit of white. So it's like that turquoise color, but you're changing the ratios so that that green is a little bit more predominant by using more yellow. So the more blue you use, the more it's going to be like a turquoise. The more yellow you use, the more it's going to be like a vibrant green. And then you can go in and add some leaf brush strokes. So I'm going to go maybe add some stems, but then you can just fill it with this greenery in between. So fun. Just little smudges. A lot of times people think it has to be like this really detailed, like I'm specifically painting a leaf like realistically, but no, blobs of paint can come across quite realistic looking. It's totally suitable for it. But you do want different shades. So as I add this, maybe some parts can have more of that blue kind of color. And you can layer in some darker shades of green, especially like underneath the flowers or just on one side or the under bottom side of the leaves. So see, I'm going on the underside, and that's going to help give it some more dimension, depth. We like it. Cleaning the brush again. We're just working our way along here. I'm going to go in and add some more to the flowers. I'm just going to add some more white to the pink and do some layers. So see how I can come like this and just add a few layers to it. And all of a sudden, it looks a little more 3D. So just by adding some white to those petals, it gives you a little more interest to look at there. But it can be so simple. It doesn't have to be all realistic and complicated, which should be really liberating. So you don't feel like, oh, it has to look this way for it to be good or right. No, not really. And then you can clean your brush and come back to the green and add some highlight colors. So you just want 3 shades of green, 3 shades of pink in this area, and you're good. Add some little trailing lighter color leaves coming down onto the basket. And just consider where your paint is going on top of. So if you do like a light color on top of that light background, you're not going to see it as much. But if I add those light colored leaves on top of that dark basket, that will show up more. So, you know, just remember where you're putting the paint and what it's going on top of and how that's going to show up. I can go in with some light blue, which is just white and blue. And this can go ahead and be a highlight for like the tires. Maybe I want to highlight those tires, or you want to go in and highlight the spokes a little bit more. You can use, you don't have to do all of the spokes with the card. You can go in and do some by hand. Maybe you want to add some blue highlights to the bike. Maybe you want to add some blue highlights to the basket. Maybe I want like a highlight just to kind of squiggle through the middle of the basket. And that could look kind of abstract. Maybe you want to do pink highlight. I can go in with doing a pink highlight. You can do pink highlights on the bike. I can put some more pink on the basket, like make it look like more flowers down there. The sky is really the limit. But if things get a little too crazy, like I always like to experiment and say, ooh, I want to do some funky highlights, or I do a lot of leaves on here, but it's too much. Come back to your brown, your darker brown, and then just clean it up. Like that was too much green leaves, too much highlights. Now I'm like, I don't know what this is. What is happening with this basket? There, clean it up. So it, you know, don't stress, experiment. I like to show that I can paint something on and I can totally change my mind about it. And I don't have to, it doesn't have to be a big deal. And you don't have to make it into an issue. But I want to add some maybe like yellow highlights, not all little crisscross highlights. I'll go more with the basket. Might work a little better. So sometimes you might try an idea and you think it's going to work, but it doesn't. And that's okay. It happens to me all the time. I'm just trying to add some little crisscross. Just imagine you're doing like a tic-tac-toe kind of thing over here. Or to create this like basket texture, but I just am keeping it really subtle. Really subtle. And then maybe I clean my brush and maybe I add a little bit more of like a darker pink color just for fun. Just towards like the underside of some of the flowers here. And you can also add some highlights with white. So maybe I have a couple little highlights in these flower centers that I did with the dark color. Just put a little bit of white there. And again, you can highlight the basket with some little crisscross white brush strokes if you like. Just do some little crisscross. Look kind of cool. But I don't want to go too much further. I want to keep this really simple and under 30 minutes, which I usually shoot for these fun little YouTube tutorials. It's very easy to do this bicycle thing. We have the little faux wood background. So if you've never tried painting that before, you realize that was actually pretty easy. It's not that big of a deal. So I hope you're enjoying a nice, fun spring paint along. And I just want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for painting with me. I like to help share the joy of painting because it's given me a lot of peace in my life, just being able to sit down and play with the colors and let go and not really try to make it right or perfect, or just let whatever comes out come out. And it's very therapeutic. So hopefully you enjoyed the benefit of that, which is one of my goals. And please leave a comment, like, subscribe, share, and just helps me spread that joy of painting to more people if you do that. So I do appreciate it, and have a beautiful rest of your day. And thanks for painting with me. Bye.